So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this evening's program. My name's Catherine. I'm with the Canberra Brahmakumari Centre, and this evening we have the fortune of Sister Aruna Ladva joining us. Sister Aruna has been practicing meditation for over 35 years, and she's actually quite an accomplished, internationally renowned spiritual author. For any of those who have visited the centre or looked at our resources online, we actually have several publications by Sister Aruna, and she's very well known for her series called It's Time. So it's time for relationships, for change, self-empowerment, time to be cool, time to meditate, so many lovely publications. And so we're very fortunate to have Sister Aruna with us this evening to share her insights about relationships and particularly how we can be more kind to ourselves. So I'll pass you on to Sister Aruna. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And what to say, kindness is a quality that is so much in need at the moment. In fact, I think we've forgotten the value of kindness. I think kindness is the new love, actually. This is how I'm interpreting kindness. Because without kindness, the world cannot continue. And especially I've been noticing in this period of lockdown and the aftermath of lockdown, I'm finding that people are actually beginning to be unkind in the sense of wanting to keep people away, being a bit rude in the distancing, social distancing, demanding. And I think we shouldn't forget the importance of being kind, especially at this time. And especially at this time in the world where so much is happening, so many calamities, tragedies, catastrophes, mistakes, let's say. And so amidst all that, it's just so important to be kind. Now, I know it's not easy because when the heart is hurt, it's very difficult to be kind, and many hearts are hurt, many hearts are wounded, many hearts are broken. And so from that, we still have to find a bit of loving kindness and to express that. In fact, as I was being brought up, I was often told by my mother that every soul has a purpose. Now, it's not just every man, every woman, not in that sense, every soul, but in general, the soul's purpose is to be kind. The soul's meaning, purpose is not fulfilled unless it gives of itself, unless it gives something, unless it shares something with another, which is that, as we say, loving kindness. So we were actually born to be trusting, loving, kind, compassionate. But yes, throughout our cycle of time, or if you believe in reincarnation, our different lifetimes, we've kind of lost touch with that. So I invite you today to come back more in touch. I'm not saying that everybody is not kind. I'm just saying let's give this quality some more attention. Let's give it some more power. And let's revive this in us again. Let's awaken it again in us so that we can be kind to ourselves and we can be kind to others. So today I will just kind of set the tone of what is kindness. I'll then do a little commentary, asking you to reflect on some aspects of kindness regarding yourself. And then next week, we can take other aspects as well. So let me begin by saying that what is kindness actually? Kindness is, like, some synonyms for kindness would be gentle, caring, kindness, well, considerate, a sense of goodwill, obviously not aggressive, opposite of being ruthless. So you can get a feeling for this quality. And so as I give this talk, I'd like you, and I will ask you some rhetoric questions, but just for you to reflect on that. Am I being those qualities with myself? Am I being gentle? Am I being calm? Am I being sympathetic? And if not, why not? What is stopping me from being loving and kind towards myself? So kindness is the act of giving something of yourself despite, say, your lack of wealth or lack of enthusiasm or maybe you're tired. Still to be able to give of yourself. This is why we say kindness. If something comes really quite naturally to someone, they're not really going out of their way, are they? But when you just go out of your way a little bit, and this is what I want to underline with kindness, actually, that if you don't be kind, you won't actually lose much. But if you are kind, you will gain so much. We gain so much by just, going that extra mile, trying that little extra harder, giving more of ourselves than the ordinary or mediocre. So this is where we want to kind of up our game and say, okay, let me try and practice kindness today by pushing my limits. So when we talk of this pushing my limits, what it means is coming out of my selfishness. When I'm being kind and caring, I'm stepping away from selfishness. In fact, when Darwin spoke about the survival of the fittest, then the notion of survival of fittest is that you're competitive, you're self-interested, and you play to win. But actually, Darwin said, no, we are actually social beings. We actually do care for each other. We love to live with each other. We love to be in sync, in harmony with each other. And can you imagine a planet, right? Or even, let's say, heaven. If you go to heaven and you're just there by yourself, is that heaven? It's not really. Even here, if you're by yourself on an island, how long can you stay on that island by yourself? So we are creatures that need each other. We are let's say unite each other, but we need each other. We need to be living in this atmosphere of beingness with each other. Nobody can live in isolation, not too long. In fact, I've seen these kinds of things intrigue me. So I've seen these kinds of documentaries where people challenge themselves to live on islands. And most of them say if they were asked to do it again, they would not. Living a year by yourself with very little tools and, of course, just eating what's there. It's not very, very nice. So if we are to be together, then one prime quality needed is kindness. Kindness, compassion, love, all this kind of can be put together. So let me go back to, selfishness. So there's been many studies done to prove that when we come out of just thinking about ourselves, when we start to do things for others, we are actually happier for it. When we start to give rather than, and give to give, not give to receive, just give because you want to give. Give because that's what you're driven by, is to give, not give to want back. You will get back. This is what the law of karma says. But let me just give to give. So when I am in that position to just want to give, then really I get the fruit of being so happy. Not just happy, but there's a whole change in my well-being. Because in the giving, I'm stepping away from my, we say selfishness, but just self-centeredness. And I'm beginning to think of the other party, the other force, the other being. And this is the most beautiful feeling, when an action is done without wanting something back. That is known to be one of the highest forms of action. In the philosophy of karma, this is the highest form of action, when I do and I don't think of wanting something back. That's why when I'm being, in this social service to others, of others, then that gives the greatest reward. And in fact, many people have found their purpose. They've taken themselves out of depression. They've suddenly developed in a self-discipline, self-control. So many strengths have emerged just by being of service to others. And especially if you're in service to others who are maybe, let's say, a little less fortunate than you. So maybe they have a few disabilities, or maybe they're not as well off financially as you, or whatever. And that just makes you realize how happier they are not having anything, whilst you are still not happy whilst having everything. So it does enlighten the soul when I start to give and to be of service to others. And this is what Mother Teresa teaches us too, right? Like she is just there to want to give. She's not there because she wants to claim that status in heaven. And why does everybody love her? Because she gives unconditionally. She doesn't look at the shape or the size or the color of the person. And so this says a lot to us about, let us give freely without judgment. And also let us not, just gravitate to the ones we want to give. Let us give to the one who's in front of us. As is the expression, charity begins at home. Sometimes we say, no, I'll only work with this group of people. I'll only work with this group of people. No. Let me give to the person right next to me. Or as it's said in Christianity, let me start with my neighbor. So the neighbor is not just the one living next door. The neighbor is the one beside you in the traffic jam. The neighbor is the one beside you at the cash till. Wherever somebody's next to you, that's your neighbor. And so let me begin by, being kind to them. And I want to mention, there's this video going around now of Simon Sinek. And he's a great speaker. You can hear him on some TED Talks. So he's done this little video on how easy it is to give happiness, and that is by being kind. So what he did is he was walking behind some person and their backpack was open. And so something fell out of their backpack. So he just bent over, picked it up, said to him, hey, this is yours. And this man was so grateful and he thanked him. And Simon walked away feeling good that I'd done something nice. I made somebody happy. And then somebody caught up with him at the traffic light. He was walking and he was waiting to cross. So somebody caught up with him and said, hey, that was great what you did back there. That was so good of you. And so Simon was saying it made me feel good. It made the person with the backpack feel good, and it made the observer feel good. But he said it has to be genuine. So if I'm helping a lady, an old lady, cross the road, and my intention is to appear in her will. That's not pure selfless action. I should just help because I want to help. And let me say that, let's come to the soul, let's come to the self. Kindness is something that is inherent in the soul. Kindness, it should be like your DNA. Like it should be a natural part of your nature. Let me share another story. So there was a story of Dalai Lama. And Dalai Lama met, apparently it's a real story. So Dalai Lama met one of the monks who had been imprisoned in China for many years and of course been tortured. So when he met this monk, he said to him, "So how was it?" And so this monk said, "Well, there were a couple of times where I felt I was in danger." So the Lama then probed a little more and asked, what do you mean in danger? And he said, "Well, there was a couple of times where I felt that I'm going to lose my kindness. I'm going to lose my compassion." Because they were torturing him so much, he was almost at the verge of, because it's their religion to be kind and compassionate. And so he saved himself. Despite what was happening to him, he saved himself. So I want to point out that this quality makes us great. Sometimes what happens is we think when people are being kind, that they're naive, they don't know what they're doing. We think that smart people, intelligent people don't do things like that. And I've been to certain parts of North India. We've done quite a few retreats there, and then we go to the villages, like in the Himalayas, Sikkim, etc. And we see the village people, and they come out and they're just so kind. They want to invite you to come and have a meal. They want to give you whatever they're eating there outside of their house. They want to offer you tea. This is kindness. This is kindness. It's not that, they don't know any better. And they're not afraid, they're not afraid to invite you in because their natural nature is to give. So that's what I'm saying about the soul. Is it so inherent in us that we can naturally be kind and forgive and let go? And really not hold any impurity of the other person or the incident or whatever in our heart. And this is why I said in the beginning, when we have been hurt, the heart closes. The first thing that happens when we're hurt is our love, our kindness stops. We stop being kind. We now start to say, why should I be kind to this person? Look what they've done to me. Yeah, look what they've done to you. They have used their remote to close your heart. Why did I give them the power? Why did I give them the remote to lock up my heart? Don't give anyone the remote to control your giving. I'm giving because I have so much to give. Even regarding this Beirut incident, so someone forwarded me, we know this Lebanese brother, he's a healer. And so he wrote a nice little message on WhatsApp. And one of the things he wrote at the end is he said, I've been asked to go abroad many times, but I chose not to. I chose to be in Lebanon because there's about 20 million Lebanese living outside of Lebanon because of all this conflict. They choose to be living out. So he said, I had many opportunities to leave, but I didn't. I wanted to stay in my country. And he said, now after what's happened, I want to say to those people that this 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate is not going to stop me from wanting to heal others. And this is how he put it. So that amount of ammunition is not enough to stop him from continuing to do what he loves to do, what he wants to do, which is to be kind, which is to give, to be generous, to heal. He's a healer, actually. And his office is, he showed me the video, his office was quite close to the bombing, and there's so much damage, but he will start again. He will rebuild again. And he will heal again. So this is the point. Do we have so much in our soul that no matter what, I'm able to give? Do we have that much strength? Do we have that much courage to just continue giving despite what others are doing? So let us come to now the self, being kind to the self. Why is it that we cannot have a loving conversation with the self? Actually, when we are being unkind to others, it's really us being unkind with ourselves. Think about it. When I'm being unkind to somebody else, because it's the pattern. It's the pattern of being unkind. It's the pattern of not being kind, not being nice to the self. So however I'm talking to the other person, that's actually how I'm talking to myself. So as I'm talking to myself like that, automatically the tone, the language, the words, that is what will flow over, pour over onto others. And that's not nice. So when we interact with others, it's actually a reflection of how we are interacting with ourselves. Think about it. And it's not just others, but it's things, you know? It's like how I deal with things. Like, do I just throw things? Do I misuse things? Do I bang the door shut? Do I stamp the floor as I'm walking? All this is energetic. It's the energy from here that's seeping through my senses and then out through the senses into the, we say, atmosphere. Atmosphere is Atma sphere, right? The soul is the Atma and the sphere around it. So my energy inside is what's creating the energy outside. So when I'm to begin with kindness, I have to begin with kind thoughts. So what are some of the examples of kind thoughts? Well, be loving towards the self, no matter what I am like. Just firstly, you love yourself. Even the shape and size, even if you have big hips, big arms, big feet, wrinkles, no matter what, love all of that. Just love all of that. And then in terms of skills, okay, maybe I'm not as talented as my sister or my brother or my friend or that one over there. But I'm different, right? I'm unique, right? There's nobody like me. So let me learn to first love myself. Let me learn to accept myself. Let me learn to appreciate myself first. If I don't do that, do you think others will? If I cannot appreciate myself, how can I expect others to appreciate me? How can I expect others to value me if I don't value myself? I can't. It's a karmic thing. If you cannot initiate that thought, the thought cannot be set into momentum. So yeah, if you don't value yourself, others will not value you. And then you'll say, see, I'm right. I'm not worth valuing. But it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because you yourself have said to yourself, I'm not worth loving. I'm not worth valuing. So really, first, it all starts with the self. It all starts with my thoughts. This is why meditation is so important. Meditation teaches us to create the right types of thoughts. And when we first begin the lesson, the first lesson of meditation, it teaches us to have positive, powerful thoughts for the self. We don't say sit in meditation and look at your anger, sit in meditation and look at your ego. We don't say that. We say sit in meditation and look at your strengths and your qualities and your virtues. So when I start looking at that, I'm now giving power to that. So already I have ignited the light of the virtues. And as I emerge those, they will now automatically come into being. So as I feel my peace will exude out. As I feel my love, I will start to be loving, I'll start to be loving to everything around me. And that's how it starts, drop by drop, bit by bit. So as I start to be kind to myself, I'm then able to spread that kindness to others. Meditation really empowers the thought. So I might have had the thought, but it empowers the thought. In other words, puts more, oomph behind the thought. So I'm able to accelerate that thought. Really, before meditation, maybe you had good thoughts of being positive, powerful. Maybe you had, these thoughts, but didn't work because there wasn't the power behind it. But as I sit in meditation, really connect with my authentic self, not this body conscious self. I connect with my authentic self. And then in your later lessons, you are told about how to connect with the supreme light, the supreme source of power. When I start to do that, the power just starts to flow. And that gives me the power to be nice, to be good. In fact, there's a quote, isn't there? To be kind is more important than to be right. So this is now the head and the heart, the ego that comes in and says, well, but no, just to be kind. So in meditation, what I want to do is create a conversation with myself, a loving conversation with myself, of how to talk to myself. So I'd like to do that now, and then I'll speak again, and then we'll do another meditation again. So I'd like us to just sit comfortably. And this is the self-talk, right? The self-talk that I have with myself. So let's just spend 2-3 minutes on this. Just sit comfortably. Try not to be distracted. Take a deep breath. So first of all, I accept myself. And really, as I say this, I'd like you to repeat it with that conviction. I'd like you to say it in your mind quietly, as though you are talking to yourself, because this is how I meditate and this is how I talk to myself, and it does work. So I'm going to present this to you and I'd like you to try it. Okay, so just sit quietly and say to yourself, I truly and totally value and appreciate myself as I am. And just go over your whole body, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. Just giving every part of your body that attention and really loving every part of yourself. That is the soul and the body. I have a special role to play. Now I'd like you to look at yourself in the midst of all your relationships, whether you're a mother, a father, the child, a friend. And I'd like you to see how you are valued, appreciated, and how important your role is in these people's lives. Just observe the different relationships and what you bring to those relationships. Maybe with some people, you are a good listener. Maybe with some people, you're more tolerant, more patient, more caring. Okay, and now I would like the kind of language you use with yourself. Are you nice to yourself? Are you forgiving to yourself? Or do you beat yourself up? Just observe the way you talk to yourself in private, in public. Maybe there's certain words that you constantly use that you know you shouldn't be using. Like, look how silly I am. Just observe the words, the language, observe the tone. And just think, if I were to speak like this to somebody else, would they like it? So why am I bullying myself? Let me be understanding. Let me have a bit of patience with myself because I'm not quite where I want to be, but I will be tomorrow. Okay, now I would like you to look at yourself. Visualize yourself being truly kind to yourself. What does that look like? Like literally, I'd like you in your mind's eye to visualize yourself and now in action, shopping, cooking, spending time with others. How does that kindness express itself? I'd like you to plant that seed now in your mind and in your heart. I choose to be kind in everything I do. I choose to be kind with people and matter. I choose to be kind with my time, not abusing it, not misusing it. I choose to be kind with my wealth. That is respecting it. Okay, so I'd just like you to have some kind of vision, just kind of some kind of feeling about that now. And let that feeling stay with you. The taste of kindness. Okay, let's come back to this moment. So as I was saying, if I am kind to myself, it really pays dividends. And what does it look like when somebody else is kind to you? What does that look like? How do you feel when you're being, taken care of and being looked after, nurtured and nourished? What does that look like? So let me reciprocate the same back. Let me give out the same back. And this is the missing link. This is where we don't connect the dots, you see? We don't say that, that person's like this because I did this. In other words, what I'm saying is the way I project myself is how people treat me. It's a very deep point. The way I project myself, express myself, is how people treat me. So if I'm a very aggressive person, then how can I expect people to be kind to me? Because they'll say, oh, she's very strong and aggressive. She doesn't need our kindness. Do you see? But if somebody's quite gentle and you kind of think, oh, poor thing needs help, others will come forth to help. You see? So this is where I have to look at myself and say, okay, what is it that I'm doing where I'm not getting the return of the kindness? Everything starts from the self. I know it's a very difficult nugget to digest, but everything starts from the self. So if we want to create a world of kindness, it has to start from inside out. Let me share another nice little story, and I'll explain why. But the story is about a rose and a rock. Of course, typical Indian story. So there are roses growing along the side of the wall, and the rose is forever cursing this big rock that's in front of it and saying, look, if you were to get out of my way, then my beauty would shine. So they're subtly having this communication, but of course the rock is very silent. The rock doesn't say anything. But every day when the flower blooms, the roses bloom, it's having this, negative feeling for the rock that it should get out of my way so everybody can love me and appreciate me. So one day somebody comes and takes away this big stone, this big rock. And then after a few days, the rose is plucked and the rose is taken to the temple. And the rose is put at the feet of this deity idol, this stone deity idol. And then the stone says, do you recognize me? And then the rose looks up and says, oh my God. So it's a very symbolic story whereby if I'm not kind to somebody today, look what happens to me tomorrow. Let me be kind, because when I'm kind, I'm creating a momentum. This is why when people talk of law of attraction, it's simply that. Plant the seed and you will reap tomorrow. Law of attraction is nothing more, nothing no deep secret behind law of attraction. You just give energy to something and you make it grow. You give it power, you give it light. So as I give light to this virtue, let me be nice, let me be kind, you're giving it that weight. And honestly, then tomorrow and the day after and the day after, good things start to come back to you. And we've seen this many times where things are happening to people and they wonder, where's all this kindness coming from? But it's obviously the stock of their good deeds. We accumulate with time our good deeds, and then the kindness is returned. Do you see? So if you feel that, what's the reason to be kind? There's many, many reasons to be kind. Okay, I'm sure some of you has this question. Can you be too kind? Well, again, what we are taught in Raj Yoga is you have to keep a balance. You have to be wise. Yeah, there's another story of this man who kept seeing this scorpion fall into the hole. Okay? He's in his garden, he keeps seeing the scorpion, it falls into the hole. So he puts his hand and brings out the scorpion. But every time he goes to save the scorpion, what happens? The scorpion bites him. So he goes, ouch, as he's, bringing out the scorpion. So his neighbor looks at him and says, are you silly? Do you not know the nature of the scorpion? Do you not know that scorpions bite? And so he says, yeah, but I also know my nature, and my nature is to care and be kind. But I would like to add a little appendix to this story, and I would like to say, why don't we put on a glove? We want to help, but let me help them and help myself. So when I say, is there any such thing as being too kind? Not really, so long as I protect myself. If I'm saying I'm being too kind, that in itself implies, why am I being too kind? Like, what is the over kindness? What is the limit of kindness, and what's the over? What's the excess? Why am I doing that extra kindness? Otherwise, kindness is kindness, right? Because when I say being extra kind, it probably means like, well, I probably know intuitively I should step back now. I should allow things to be. That's where I need to use my discrimination, my wisdom, and say, okay, you know what? Let me just wait and see. I've done my bit. I've done the planting of good deeds. So let me see now what happens. And sometimes, our kindness is to step back. Our kindness is to let go. Otherwise, we suffocate the person or the situation. So this is where I need to know my boundaries, my limits, and say, okay, I'm kind, but it's not by stepping back. I'm not kind. I'm also taking care of myself. I'm protecting myself, and also maybe protecting the other person from being too dependent on you, becoming a codependent. So this is often a question that comes up in our classes when we talk about any quality. Should I be too loving? Should I be, should I be very giving? I mean, we need to always know. There's always got to be the balance of love and law, of stepping in and stepping out, stepping in and stepping back. And that's where we need to apply the intellect. Not the head, but the intellect. The intellect helps us to choose. The intellect helps us to decide. And that's when we need a very clear intellect. You see, the clarity of the intellect will help us to know what to do when, in what situation. So today, as I said, I'd like you to practice some act of kindness. In fact, try all week. Go out of your way to do something. Choose what it is you'd like to do. Maybe it will come spontaneously to you. That's okay as well. But I'd like you to then observe what it makes you feel like as a result of doing that. Actually, let me say that all of our Raj Yoga centers around the world, we do not charge. We do not charge because the knowledge, firstly, is priceless. You could not pay for it. That's how priceless it is. But secondly, we give of ourselves because we believe in the giving. We believe in the sharing. And we believe that spirituality doesn't have a price tag. This is our kindness, you see. We have benefited. We started one day, right? Once upon a time, we too attended the meditation course. We too were more peaceless than maybe we are today. We started somewhere. Then we felt its benefits. And then we felt like we'd like to share this with others. So this is what I'm saying. As you start to apply the theory of meditation into your lives and you benefit, you will naturally, it's a natural transition to want to give. When you start getting wise about something, it's a natural transition to want to share that. Maybe the example I can give is like when you see a good sale in your local department store, or I remember I was locked down in London and ginger was getting very expensive. So instead of being $2.99 a pound, it was like $8.99 a pound, $10.99 a pound. I mean, a pound, kilo like that. And then everybody was sharing with each other where they could get the cheapest ginger, the cheapest turmeric from. So this is what I mean. When you feel something is special, when you're benefiting from it, you want to share it with others. And that in itself is kindness. And in that, let me share, in that, also you don't feel that you're being taken advantage of. Because you're ready and willing to give. This is why people ask us, even at our retreat centers, they say, but do you not feel that people just come and take advantage? And we say, no, when you want to give something of yourself, how can that be taking advantage? If you have a tree with so many peaches on it or apples on it in your garden, and you tell others, please come and pick, take as many as you want, is that taking advantage? No, you're inviting, you're encouraging. So this is what I mean. When you have so much of something to give, then it shouldn't feel like others are taking advantage of you. In fact, you should feel so abundant like a king, and you should say, please take. Is this what you want? Okay, please take. Is this what's going to make you happy? Okay, please take. So this is how big, honestly, there shouldn't be a limit to our heart. Our heart should be so big and wide and so full and filled all the time that this was in our teachings this morning, actually. Can you have so much that, you can give to anyone who comes in front of you? Amazing. So in meditation, we fill up and then we give throughout the day. And when you're giving, let me tell you, when you're giving, you're not taking sorrow. When you're giving, you are experiencing happiness. It's when you're taking that you're experiencing sorrow. Because even if something comes to you as a gift, there's no free gift. It's always loaded with something, loaded with some baggage. So it's better to give all the time rather than to take, because in the giving, there is the happiness. Okay, I'd like to now, again, do another little meditation where I'd like us to connect with that source before we finish. So once again, I'd just like you to sit comfortably. Come back to the self. And this time I would like us to connect with a very, very powerful light. Firstly, I imagine myself to be just a light. So I'd like us to leave behind this bag of bones and blood, mass and volume. And I'd like us to just feel ourselves as a light. I'm in the body, but I am absolutely free from the body. An absolutely pure, bright, shining light. And now this light is connecting with a very powerful, supreme light. So I'd like you to imagine that this supreme light and you are connecting. And just being under the presence of this powerful light, I'm being filled. There is like a fountain of all the virtues, and I'm just soaking up all the virtues. I'm experiencing love, peace, bliss, generosity, humility, benevolence, beauty, power. And just imagine the soul being filled like you have arrived at an oasis of virtues. And furthermore, the supreme light is absolutely a pure and positive light. So I'm being infused with that pure and positive light. And any impurity in my light is being transformed. Let's just hold the silence because there is the namaz in the mosque. Just hold the silence for 1 minute. So I'd like you also to Come back to the awareness of the body. And I'd like you to fill your body with that light. So it is not a physical body, but a body of light. Fill every cell of your body with pure light. This is the kindness that I can offer myself every day. To sit in meditation and to simply fill up with light. My body, my soul will be thankful for this experience. So thank you. So once again, I would like to remind you to try and observe kind acts with the self, with others. And then I'd like you to observe how you feel as you do these kind acts, how it leaves you feeling afterwards. And let's see if there's a shift in this week. And I'll see you next week again. So once again, thank you to the Canberra Centre. Thank you, Satish Bhai, for doing the technical. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Sister Aruna, for your inspiring talk this evening. We especially love that you actually shared so much of your personal experiences and inspiring stories, that you managed to take us into an experience of kindness, that you helped us create a vision and a feeling of what it actually is to be kind and connect with that energy. And again, in its purest form, in the form of light, with the meditation experience that you took us into at the end. So thank you again for joining us this evening and inspiring us from your home in Kuwait. We're so happy that you can join us again next week. And I'd like to remind everybody that, as you can see on the screen, we've had the fortune of hosting this program in Canberra. And if you have any questions for Sister Aruna, feel free to just email them through to the Canberra email address. So at the bottom of the screen, canberra@au.brahmakumaris.org. So yes, we've got an opportunity to pose some questions to Sister Aruna next week. And the theme is kindness in relationship with others. And if there's anyone who'd like more information about the meditation and the classes that we are offering online, again, the details are the same. Feel free to either call the centre or send an email. Thank you. Good night, everyone.